Love and Hatred. A Vampire's First Love. Chapter 2. Kindly subscribe to my channel for more chapters. Elise was overjoyed when she received the news about her successful interview. The next day in the evening, she had signed her contract alongside Ella, the girl who had shown her some attitude on the day of their interview. Elise couldn't wait to get home to share her joy with her family. Elise just stepped out of the building when a man approached her. "Excuse me, beautiful. Would you mind lending me a minute of your time? My boss requests to speak with you," the guy said, pointing at a car parked few steps away from her. Elise followed his line of gaze and spotted the man. Elise recognized him at once. She hadn't stopped fantasizing about him since their first encounter. Logan was getting impatient and got out of the car at once. He made long strides towards the two. Logan cleared his voice to announce his presence. "Hey, beautiful. I'm really sorry to take up your precious time. However, I couldn't help myself. I'm Logan," he said, extending his hand to her. Elise had no idea when she had lost herself admiring his perfect looks. His muscles popped out beautifully on his arm, his well-toned body evident from his clothes that fitted him perfectly. Everything about him was surreal and mesmerizing. He was so out of this world. "I'm Elise," she finally said after a long, awkward moment. Logan felt electric waves all over him as she said her name beautifully. Her cute smile captured his heart in ways he never imagined. "Such a beautiful name. Do you need a ride? I could take you home," Logan said, but immediately cursed inside. Did he wait for her for all that time only to take her home? "Thanks for your offer, but I'm afraid I can't accept it." Elise felt her cheeks already burning, seeing his intimidating but demanding gaze at her. "Could I please get to know you more? You could help me with your contact." "I won't mind." Elise was so smitten by him that she didn't think twice giving her contact to him. She was a village girl, but this guy made her feel on top of the world already, his sophisticated look alone intimidating her. Logan handed his card to her, which she slid into her sling bag. Elise watched as he walked back into his car. She held her heart, which was beating erratically, not believing that such a handsome and obviously super rich guy took notice of her. Elise boarded the car, her mind clouded with the images of Logan. She, however, pushed everything at the back of her mind when she reached home. Logan had followed Elise to her home discreetly. Logan watched from a distance at the family celebration. Though he was attracted to human blood, he was able to control his desires at the moment. He already had his fresh supply of blood, his unsuspecting bodyguards. Logan headed back into his car and drove home. That night he had to make ready his plans to succeed the throne. Elise was finally in her bed trying to catch some sleep. She was so thrilled by the day's events, first getting the job and the handsome guy from before. It seemed luck was on her side that night. She took out the card from before. From her sling bag, which was on the table close to her bed, she read out his name, which sounded like sweet music to her ears. Logan Rains. What a nice name. Next morning, Elise woke up and lingered for a while in her bed. She had to carefully plan on how to spend her savings, do some shopping before she started work. Being on a Saturday, Elise had plenty of time. With everything set, Elise headed out of her room. She met with Charity, who pushed her back into her room. Elise was startled at Charity's foul mood. "Just who do you think you are, Elise? Just because you got yourself a job, you think you are better than everyone else? Who will carry out all your chores for you? Grandma has been putting up with this stupidity, but I won't do that any longer. You are a grown woman and should be responsible enough. You should be ashamed of yourself, Elise," Charity said, fuming with anger. Elise was dumbfounded. Thought it had always been clear to her that Charity never liked her. Her statement just now was filled with lots of resentment. "It's good that you got a job soon. You should stop being a burden to this family. If it were up to me, I would have thrown you out a long time ago," Charity added, and left the room, slamming the door hard behind her. Elise slumbered against the wall. Elise suddenly remained. That was but an orphan. Charity's remarks opened a deep wound she had buried a long time ago. Elise looked back at the times they have spent together as a family. Maybe no one was brave enough to let her know the burden she brought. Elise decided to head out of the room after organizing her thoughts. She had to talk with grandmother Karen. Elise didn't have an appetite and went straight to her grandmother. Karen's warm smile welcomed Elise, which pained her thinking of Alte. The negative things about her. "Elise, did you sleep well last night?" Grandmother Karen asked. "Grandmother, I'm really sorry that I had to wake up late today. I really didn't mean to," Elise said desperately. The harsh words from Charity came flooding back to her, her tears threatening to fall. "You don't have to apologize, my child. It's better if you had some rest and let Charity take care of the household." Grandmother Karen could already guess what had happened to cause Elise to become emotional when she saw Charity hiding behind a tree, listening to their conversation. "Thank you so much, Grandmother. I really don't know what I could do without you," Elise said as she gave Grandmother a hug. "Elise, know that you coming into my life has been a wonderful blessing. I couldn't thank God enough for this opportunity to have you in my life," Grandmother Karen said as she gently rubbed Elise's hands. Grandmother could already feel the pain she was going through. She had to have a good talk with Charity. She wouldn't allow anyone to cause her granddaughter any worries. Elise took Eva and Adam to visit their Aunt Jennifer. This was one of her plans before she broke the news of her departure to her grandmother. Elise led the two as they made their way to the nearby road where they could catch a bus headed to Aunt Jennifer's place. Passing by the stream, Elise found herself smiling, remembering her earlier encounter with that strange man. His beautiful blue eyes had especially captured her soul. Adam and Eva, who had been following Elise closely behind, noticed how absent-minded she had been. Not wanting to disrupt her, they waited for the perfect time when Elise was smiling widely at herself as she held the hem of her dress. "Sister, why don't you share with us what got you so excited?" Eva said. Elise smiled at herself and gave a stern glance at the two before focusing ahead. They were almost at the main road when Elise felt as though someone had been following them. She increased her pace when the unnerving feeling wouldn't go away. Elise was relieved when they caught a bus. Immediately they reached the highway. The bus began to move when suddenly an old woman called out not to be left behind. The woman finally got into the bus. She had covered herself with a black veil that it was hard to catch a glimpse of her face. Elise decided to bother herself and glanced out through the window. About 20 minutes later, Elise and the kids alighted from the bus. Just few meters ahead, the woman alighted as well. Elise, who had forgotten about the possibility of being followed, happily led Eva and Adam to Aunt Jennifer's house. Jennifer couldn't hide the surprise on her face seeing her family. She ushered them in, as the old woman watched them get into the house from a distance. Eva and Adam enjoyed playing with the baby till late in the evening. Getting back home, Eva and Adam happily narrated their thrilling experience. "Eva, Adam, I think that's enough. You two should head inside now," Elise said serially. Grandmother Karen, who had already noticed the sudden change in Elise's mood, couldn't help but ask what had gone wrong. "Grandmother, I just received a call from work. The company decided that I have to immediately move into a house allocated to me. They further explained that there would be many training sessions which I'll have to attend, so it would be better if I moved there at once," Elise said, watching the changing expression on Grandmother's face. It really broke her heart that she had to lie to her, but this was something she had to do. She couldn't be a freeloader all her life. She had to learn how to be independent, no matter how hard it would be. "Why don't you explain to them that you are comfortable working from home? I'm sure they would understand," Grandmother said in a sad tone. "Trust me, Grandmother, I already tried. They said it was company policy. I could lose my job if I failed to comply." Is that so? Elise nodded her head sadly. I'll leave tomorrow very early so that I get settled. Karen couldn't voice out all her thoughts and decided to let Elise carry on with her plans. She could do nothing at all. Besides, Elise was a very responsible girl. She could take care of herself. That night, the mood around the dinner table was very tense, except for Ava and Adam, who chipped in with stories from their visit to Jennifer. Charity, on the other hand, ensured she avoided Grandmother Karen's piercing gaze. She could tell that Grandmother doubted Elise's story. Everyone retired to bed. Elise, however, spent the better part of the night packing her stuff. Tears streamed down her face, thinking about the uncertainty that awaited her the next day. She had fallen asleep, failing to cover herself. Grandmother had gone to Elise's room to have a final chat with her, noticed her staring absent-mindedly into space, with tears streaming down her face. Karen's heart tightened with pain, heartbroken at the sight of her lovely child. Grandmother covered Elise with a blanket and switched off the light. Early next day, Elise was the first to wake up. She didn't want to leave when everyone was awake. With her stuff ready, Elise made her way quietly into Grandmother's room. She was surprised to find her wide awake. I'm leaving before the children wake up. I'm sure Adam and Ava won't let me leave easily, Elise whispered. All right, dear. You go ahead. Promise me that you will take good care of yourself. Please visit us whenever you are free, Grandmother said, as she closed in to hug Elise, who had sat on the bed with her. I definitely take good care of myself, and visiting you guys is a must. I will also ensure to call you every day just to show you that I'm doing all right. Elise responded, tears threatening to escape from her eyes. Take this. I know it's not enough, but it would help you till you get paid. Grandmother handed to her a brown envelope. Grandmother, I can't possibly accept it. You need the money more than I do. The company will cater for everything once we start working. Elise lied. Karen already knew Elise wouldn't accept it, but she had to try. Elise bid her bye and walked out. Elise couldn't dare glance back as her tears bubbled out of her eyes. She was now on her own. Elise was lost in her thoughts as she made her way to the road. She didn't notice a car slow down beside her before speeding up and disappearing in a distance. Sir, I just saw the lady waiting for the bus. What should I do? She had luggage on her, reported the guy from the car. Just follow her and report back to me, came the reply from the other end. Inside the bus, Elise stared out through the window. She had no idea where she would find a place to stay, but went blindly, hoping that by the end of the day she would have worked something out. At the outskirts of the town, Elise alighted from the bus. She was sure that the amount she had could not let her get any room within the city. She carried her suitcase as she moved from one rental house to another in search of a room she could afford, but all of them seemed really expensive. It was already 1 p.m., but she was yet to find a room. Elise felt so exhausted and went to a nearby shade to have a little rest. The guy who had silently followed her reported immediately to his boss when he noticed her frustration. Having been notified on what to do, he immediately called caretaker to one of the apartment buildings in town. In her despair, Elise heard her phone ring and immediately checked it out. It was Logan. Hello, Elise said. How are doing, Elise? I've waited so much for your call. Logan said he had wanted so much to speak with her, but had been holding himself back. He could only busy himself with trying to find ways to finish off his brothers. I'm fine. I'm sorry I haven't had time to call you, Elise explained. You don't have to worry about that. I'm sure we'll find time to talk. So where are you right now? Logan asked, hoping that Elise would tell him the truth about her situation. I'm in the outskirts of town. I'll be starting work tomorrow. I'm trying to find a room. Elise responded. She had wanted to lie to him but saw no need of doing that. Have you gotten one? I could help you find one if you won't mind, came Logan's charming voice. About that, I'm really not sure if you could help me get one here. I've made rounds since morning, but none of the rooms meet my budget. Elise responded desperately. Why would you say that? I'm sure I could help you get a better one. One of my friends just moved abroad. He left me his apartment, which I can't use now. I needed someone to housekeep for me. Would you be willing to take of the apartment for me? At least we help each other here. Logan said, trying to sound as convincing as possible. Elise shed a tear that lingered in her eyes. The heavens were truly watching down upon her. But Logan, we met just the other day. You can't trust me with your house. Elise, from the moment I saw you, I knew in my heart that I could trust you. Plus, it's not like you will disappear with the apartment. I think this will give us an opportunity to get to know each other. I promise. I won't ask for anything in return. Logan was amazed at himself. No woman dared his patience as much as this girl. They would end up dry within seconds. She was the one for him. It's all right, Logan. I guess I'll accept your offer. It would really be a great help to me now that I'm only getting started at work. Thank you so much. Let me get your location and send someone to pick you up and accompany you to the apartment. Logan said at once, relieved. Thanks again, Logan. I'll just wait here. Elise sat under a tree, leaning on her suitcase to rest. She didn't know when she had fallen asleep. Elise was woken up by a guy who had parked a car beside her. Sorry, miss, to have woken you up. I have been sent to you by Mr. Logan, the man said. He seemed to be in his early 30s, not eye-catching but handsome enough. Elise only nodded at him. She was too tired to even talk. He helped her with her luggage. The drive took around 10 minutes before the guy pulled up in front of a heavily fortified building. Being led through the gate, she had her fingerprints taken, but all the while she was awed by the beauty and magnificence of the building. It was as though she had entered into a palace so royal and grand. The man led her to the elevator and pressed on the 36th floor. From what she observed, the building had 37 floors. The attendant had the door opened and she was ushered in. She was met with a beautiful sight. The seats were made of expensive leather, and the decorations around the house was definitely worth more than her life. Elise dropped her suitcase on the floor at the living room and made her way through the entire apartment. It had 3 huge bedrooms, which she wasn't sure what she would use all that for. Getting to the balcony, she was amazed at the beautiful view of the city from high above. Taking a good look around, Elise realized that she was familiar with one of the buildings within her sight, her place of work. What a wonderful surprise. She won't have to board any car while going to work daily. It would save her a lot from the expenses. Elise sat down to rest and call Logan. Today he had been her guardian angel, helping her out of her desperation.